It's HYLN video time. In today's video, I'll provide commentary on more of Strongman Personal Finance's videos. And I'm just going to focus on 3 videos dealing with what makes GE Aerospace, GE Vernova, as well as AIRJ, what makes them money. What's profitable for them?
So sales of equipment is down year over year. It's actually down. It's down by 2532 divided by 253. It's down 14%. Now, like I said, that could probably fluctuate because of contracts and stuff, but that's something to note there. However, sales of services have grown by 12.5%, and insurance revenues have grown by a decent chunk. So overall, the revenue growth came from sales of services increasing and insurance revenues. Now, it looks like the most profitable business is the services. As a matter of fact, it looks like the sale of equipment is losing money.
I know I've been fixated as to when will HYLN sell Carno generators, but Carno generators are equipment, and if you look at GE Aerospace, selling equipment is not profitable. However, selling services are. So the question I have is, what type of services would HYLN be able to provide? Because it sounds like, at least looking at GE Aerospace, that selling equipment for whatever reason doesn't turn much of a profit.
Look at this. For the sales of equipment, they generated $2.175 billion of revenue, but it cost them $2.3 billion. They're losing money on the equipment. So maybe this is a business where they sell the equipment at a loss, but they get you on the services. They have $23 billion of very liquid capital that they can access.
So we know GE Aerospace is sitting on quite a bit of cash, $23 billion to be exact. The next company that we'll take a look at is GE Vernova, and it's divided into 3 business segments, and one of them, wind, had a production mishap with one of their wind turbines falling apart, and it fell in some certain area, and that caused a loss in revenue.
So the 3 segments they have are power, wind, and electrifications. Power has gas, nuclear, hydro, and steam. Wind has wind generation, onshore and offshore wind turbines. And electrification has grid solutions, power conversion, electrification software, and solar and storage solutions. So we can see for the 3 months ended June 30th, 2024, basically half the revenues came from selling equipment, freaking turbines and whatever, and then half of it came from services. Services are more profitable.
Strongman Personal Finance reiterates that same thing, is that services are more profitable than the sales of equipment, which is not surprising because GE was one company, and then in April 2024 broke apart into 3 different companies. So they possess the same characteristics, that services generate more revenue, and it mainly entails, services deal with maintenance of equipment, upgrading equipment. And I know that HYLN, it mentions that their Carno generator is very low maintenance, so they can't make too much money servicing equipment, because this thing would run for 10 years before you have to do any maintenance on it. So they're going to have to make money in some other capacity.
But I expect that to change over time unless orders really start to pick up for equipment. Okay. So let's see. They had a profit and loss. So here we go. So if you look at the profit and loss by segments, so power revenues increased 8% year over year. Wind revenues decreased 21%. Electrification increased 19%. There were 49 orders for gas turbines versus 39 in the prior year. There were 30 orders for heavy-duty gas turbines versus 20. So you can see year over year, orders for turbines have increased, okay? Except for these aeroderivatives, whatever that means. So orders have increased, but quarter on quarter, you see an actual dip in gas turbines. So I guess they had a lot of orders in the first quarter of 2024, because if you look at the 3-month comparison, it's actually dipped a little bit, okay? So orders are different from sales. So the reason you see orders and the reason you see sales is because an order is somebody says, I want this. But until you give them the gas turbine, you don't recognize revenue.
That was the issue with the ERX. They had 200 customers, no wait, 30 customers lined up, and they decided to make a pivot and not deliver on that, and therefore they did not recognize revenue on the Hypertruck ERX.
You have to give them, like if you go order something from Amazon, and you just, like the second you click the button, Amazon doesn't recognize revenue. They have to ship the product to you. You have to receive the product. So if you don't receive the product, that's not revenue. That's still an obligation. That's an order. A sale is when they've actually delivered the product, okay? So you'll see a bunch of orders is good because that's future revenue. You're just not going to see it right now.
The question I have is, will HYLN be able to deliver Carno generators to customers? And we'll find out the answer to that within the next 3 to 6 months.
Okay, most of the revenue comes from gas power, and most of that is from services. Wow, look at that. So for the first 6 months into June 30th, 2023, they had 1,000 orders of wind turbines. This year, it's 621. That's a drop of like 40%. And sales are also down massively.
That's due to the production incident that they had with one of their wind turbines falling apart, and production incidents are rather costly.
Holy freaking crap, man. And the segment itself isn't even making money. So they had so here's probably why. So if you go back and you look at Power, right? Most of Power's revenue is from services. You know, like your fluffing or whatever they're doing, okay? Services are, in general, probably more profitable.
As he's looking over the balance sheet, he's repeating that same thing over and over again. Services are more profitable. What's HYLN going to do in terms of services?
Than selling equipment. Equipment, you have to buy it, buy the materials, make the equipment, sell it. That's probably not that profitable. But most of Powers is from services, whereas most of this one is from freaking equipment, and they have huge declines. Why did their gross profit go up? Their gross profit is their profit at the top of the income statement. The increase in gross profit was due to an increase at power, of course, due to an increase in gas power. So we see overall sales of equipment has declined. That's probably the wind turbines, but sales of services have increased, and that's mostly because of power. The cost of equipment. So how profitable are they on their equipment sales? So if we take their revenue from equipment minus the cost of equipment divided by the revenue from equipment, the current margin from equipment sales is 8%. Amazing, right? Their margin from services is 34%.
That is a difference of 26%.
Yeah, services are good. Services make more money. Cash of almost $6 billion, receivables of $6.5 billion. These are all liquid inventories, liquid assets, very liquid assets.
GE Vernova is sitting on $6 billion in cash, with another $6 billion coming in to accounts receivable. The last company that we'll listen to Strongman talk about is Montana Technologies, and that's where Stephen Peng, one of the board members from HYLN, that's where he went to, and he helped do that special purpose acquisition company to make HYLN what it is today.
They took their technology license and they transferred it to a third-party entity called AIRJ LLC. So they took the technology and they just transferred it to another LLC. They are the 50% owners of this second LLC, AIRJ LLC, and they are splitting ownership with GE Vernova, or whatever you call it. So this is just a company that is invested into another company and owns 50% of that other company. It's a joint venture because to create this new technology, this company provides the licensing, like the actual, design license for the freaking humidifier, whatever they make. And then GE Vernova provides, like materials. I think it's called sorbents. Basically, they're working together and they both provide resources to make this product a thing. Now,
that sounds similar to what HYLN does. HYLN makes the Carno technology, and GE Aerospace, one of their business units is Calibrium Additive. They provide the printers, and working together, they produce a Carno generator. So perhaps instead of services with HYLN, perhaps, and this is speculation, it's licensing out their Carno technology. So they're posturing to make Carno generators. It's kind of almost giving out a taste test to big companies, but they may be positioning themselves just to license out the Carno generator technology and have someone else create these generators for them.
Funny thing is, I think we'll see it later, is that Montana Technology Corporation is definitely putting a lot more money into this. So first we have cash. They have $34 million of cash. Investment in AIRJ. Okay, this is their 50% stake. Now you see this huge number. Huge, like my you-know-what. $342 billion. Well, that number is absolutely meaningless. Okay? Basically, what they did is they transferred the technology, the license, to AIRJ LLC, and they recognized a gain. They said, this technology is worth this much. And when they transferred over, they said, oh, now we made a gain because we transferred the technology over. Okay. What you care about is, does this company have enough cash to keep going?
The same can be said with HYLN. How much cash does HYLN have left? How much do they burn through each quarter? Are they going to sell any Carno generators? But again, this is speculation. It's not about selling Carno generators. It's about demonstrating the technology to large companies and then perhaps licensing the technology out.
All right. Okay. What they actually put $10 million of cash into AIRJ LLC after burning $17 million. Okay. And if AIRJ LLC needs cash, GE or Montana Technologies has to put more in. And guess who doesn't have to put more in? GE Vernova. They have the right, but not obligation. So basically, this company, AIRJ, could sink, and that could sink Montana Technologies as well. Or if Montana sinks, then AIRJ might sink, unless freaking GE decides to bail them out. Okay.
Another question I have is, if HYLN burns through all of its money, would GE Aerospace bail HYLN out?
And the company generated $61 million of cash from the issuance of common stock. So we could see overall they burned $17 million from their operations, which is basically just being the 50% owner of AIRJ LLC. And then they burned $10 million by investing $10 million into AIRJ, which is losing money. And they generated $61 million from generating stock. Now, the problem is, going forward, how much money can they generate from stock issuance? I mean, the stock price is what, $6? $6.34? Okay, if this stock keeps plunging, they're going to have a hard time raising money unless...
That's probably why HYLN bought back shares, so they can stay listed on the New York Stock Exchange. And once the stock price starts getting hyped up, they can get more money by getting investors to buy more shares of HYLN stock.
Some other company comes and bails them out. But if another company invests in them, then you get massively diluted. So this is a very risky investment.